Prologue. Wayne, living in Tinwaite Settlement, reflects on his difficult life. He waits anxiously for his mother to return from working in the mine, fearing the dangers she faces. As he plays with cards, he thinks about his family's struggles, his father's death, and his mother's exhaustion. His mother returns, weary and worn, but they share a brief, comforting moment. She tells him a story about the lawman Jack defeating bandits, and Wayne imagines himself following in Jack's footsteps. However, his world is shattered when his mother doesn't return from the mine the next day, leaving him alone. Part 1. In Chapter 1, Marasi and Wayne explore a sewer beneath Elendel, investigating a potential hidden lair linked to gang activity and possibly the set. They discuss Wayne's troubled mood due to his relationship with Milan and his humorous complaints about the sewer. Marasi, now a constable, reflects on her ongoing pursuit of answers about the set and the mysterious god Trell, despite years of fruitless investigation. They discover an old door that had been recently used, revealing a hidden tunnel. With a mix of humor and determination, they enter, hoping it leads to crucial answers. In Chapter 2, Wax prepares for a critical speech in the Senate regarding a controversial bill that could heighten tensions between Elendel and the outer cities. He argues against the bill, which would grant the Elendel governor excessive power, potentially leading to civil war. Despite his efforts, including revealing a bribery letter implicating Senator Maelstrom, the bill passes with a close vote. Wax is disheartened by the outcome, knowing the stakes of the decision. The chapter explores his role as a politician trying to balance power, integrity, and the rising conflict within the basin. In Chapter 3, Marasi and Wayne venture into a network of tunnels under Elendel, following traces of a smuggling operation. They discover a large-scale smuggling base, populated by armed workers and led by a member of the set. Marasi concludes the gang is funneling weapons to the outer cities. Wayne suggests taking out the leader to end the operation quickly, but Marasi insists on proper procedure, including backup. However, when they're discovered by a guard, Wayne knocks him out, escalating their approach. Marasi is frustrated but knows they've found the right lead, and the operation is now more urgent. In Chapter 4, Marasi and Wayne engage in a high-stakes battle with a gang operating underground. Marasi uses allomantic grenades to slow time and take down multiple enemies, while Wayne handles the front lines with his speed bubbles and dueling canes. As the fight continues, they split up. Wayne stays to neutralize the remaining gangsters, and Marasi chases after a key figure, the Cycle, hoping to gain valuable information. Despite Wayne's risky tactics, Marasi is determined to capture the Cycle alive. She pursues him into a reinforced tunnel, setting the stage for crucial revelations. In Chapter 5, Wax returns to his chambers after the Senate vote, feeling defeated. Despite their best efforts, the bill passed, and Wax's faith in politics is shaken. He finds a mysterious note and earring from Harmony but dismisses it, frustrated with his past connection to the god. Wax spends time with his family, particularly with his son Max, who lightens the mood with his antics. Wax takes Max for a flight, despite the political tensions around them. He's reminded that even in disappointment, his family offers comfort and joy. Wax remains determined to push forward. In Chapter 6, Marasi tracks down a Cycle member, a powerful ferochemist with enhanced strength and healing. She attempts to arrest him, but is forced to retreat after he grows in size using ferochemical strength. A violent confrontation ensues, with Marasi narrowly escaping across a chasm after using an allomantic grenade. However, the Cycle continues to pursue her, and after a brutal fight, she shoots him in the head. She discovers the Cycle is using hemalurgy, as his body is healing from the gunshot wounds. Marasi removes 4 spikes, one of which is made of a rare, dangerous metal before the man dies. In Chapter 7, Wax and Max enjoy an exhilarating series of jumps across Elendel, with Wax reflecting on his deepening attachment to the city. While Max revels in the heights, Wax contemplates his love for Elendel despite the calls of adventure from the roughs. As they land on Alstrom Tower's roof, Wax notices a Malwish warship approaching the city, signaling a potential threat. Determined to investigate, Wax straps Max back into place and prepares to fly toward the warship, signaling the beginning of a new challenge that could involve the Malwish and their intentions for the city. In Chapter 8, Marasi retrieves important evidence from the Dead Cycle, including 4 spikes, one possibly made of Trellium, and a book with shipping data. She finds Wayne surrounded by captives, having used his speed bubble to subdue them. After a tense moment with the gangsters, Marasi activates a slowed time bubble to buy time until backup arrives. When a mysterious woman appears and flees, Marasi suspects something more sinister at play. Wayne returns with backup, and they prepare to report their findings to Wax, including the spikes and cryptic warnings about Ash and Red Eyes, signaling further threats. In Chapter 9, Wax and Max visit a Malwish warship where they meet Admiral Dahl, the new ambassador. Tensions rise as Dahl asserts that the Bands of Mourning should belong to the Malwish, hinting at deeper political struggles. Wax remains diplomatic, despite the underlying threat. After a brief exchange, Wax and Max return to their penthouse, where Steris welcomes them. Wax reflects on the brewing conflict between Elendel and the South, exacerbated by the recent political shifts. Marasi sends a note inviting them to meet, suggesting exciting news, while Wax contemplates the uncertain future of the basin. In Chapter 10, Marasi arrives at the 4th Octan Constabulary, feeling better after her ordeal. She meets with Constable Reddy, discussing the captured gangsters and the shipping manifest, which indicates weapons and explosives are being smuggled to Bilming. Marasi proposes using the shipment as a trap, with a Khandra imitating the dead Cycle's body to maintain subterfuge. Reddy agrees and asks her to submit a detailed proposal. She also gives him several Trellium spikes, suspecting their connection to a mysterious threat. Meanwhile, Wayne, in disguise, is hiding from debt collectors. Marasi plans to meet Wax at 3 o'clock. In Chapter 11, Wax and Steris return to Ladrian Mansion, where they are greeted by Alec, the Malwish ambassador and pastry maker. Marasi and Wayne arrive with news. Marasi retrieved a Trellium spike from a set member she defeated. The spike, which seems linked to hemalurgy, raises concerns about the set's intentions. Marasi presents a notebook she found detailing shipments into Elendel, which is suspicious since the set typically smuggles goods out. The group theorizes the set might be planning an inside rebellion. Meanwhile, Milan reveals she'll soon be leaving to explore other planets, further unsettling Wayne. In Chapter 12, Wayne struggles with the emotional aftermath of Milan leaving him. She explains that her mission to explore the Cosmere, including the unknown realm of Shadesmar, requires her to sever their bond. Though she admits to feeling a deep connection with Wayne, she can't stay out of pity, as it's not what she truly wants. Wayne, resigned to the reality of his situation, processes the pain of being abandoned and facing his own insecurities. Milan's parting gift is a final compliment, but it doesn't alleviate Wayne's overwhelming sense of worthlessness and loss. In Chapter 13, Wax, Steris, and Marasi experiment with Trellium, a mysterious metal. Wax's basement laboratory is filled with equipment from his past metallurgical studies. They discover that Trellium is incredibly hard, with a high melting point, and doesn't react like other metals. After using spectroscopy, they confirm that it's a god metal, similar to harmonium, but with odd properties. Marasi suggests that Wax is trying to replicate lerasium or adium, but Wax explains it's to prevent the set from gaining these powers. The chapter ends with the revelation that the Trellium spike is reacting to harmonium, indicating a crucial discovery. In Chapter 14, Wayne, reeling from his breakup with Milan, attends a funeral with friends Jaxie and Renette, reflecting on his emotional turmoil. He struggles with guilt over his past actions, particularly his role in a woman's suffering. Wayne plans to face Alriandra, the woman he wronged, as a form of penance. Jaxie and Renette question his approach, suggesting he may be more focused on his own punishment than her healing. Meanwhile, 2 men from an accounting firm confront Wayne about his finances, further complicating his already difficult day. Wayne's personal struggles continue as his emotional burden intensifies. In Chapter 15, Wax and his team experiment with Trellium and harmonium, discovering that the 2 metals repel each other like magnets, particularly when exposed to investiture. They theorize that Trellium's unique properties might be related to its connection to gods. Wax reflects on the set's involvement with hemalurgy and the potential consequences of their actions, particularly involving his sister Telsin. Vendel, a Khandra, arrives with a note from a mysterious figure, revealing that they are being watched. Wax sets up an experiment to attempt splitting harmonium, but an explosion disrupts their efforts, leaving them unsure of the results. In Chapter 16, Wayne meets with 2 accountants to manage his vast wealth, which has grown to over 20 million. They discuss his investments, including profitable ventures like Tarxel Electric and real estate. Wayne, feeling detached from his wealth, proposes a strange idea: funding a citywide noseball league to allow people a controlled outlet for their anger. While the accountants are initially confused, they agree to support the idea. Wayne continues to wrestle with his past actions, particularly his guilt over hurting a young woman, and arranges for her and her family to receive financial support each month. In Chapter 17, Steris navigates her anxieties while helping the group prepare for potential dangers after a lab explosion. She ensures everyone wears protective masks and takes precautions to avoid harmful fumes. They discover that the explosion released energy from harmonium, and Elendel explains how matter, energy, and investiture are interconnected. Wax realizes the explosion's destructive power is too easily triggered. Steris helps with research into the set's plans and the potential for devastating bombs. Wax, injured in a smaller detonation, assures Steris of his safety. They continue their investigation, and Steris reflects on their growing partnership. In Chapter 18, the group discusses the threat posed by the new Malwish ambassador Dahl the Primary, and his desire to reclaim the Bands of Mourning. Alec explains that Dahl's presence signifies the end of leniency from the south. Marasi plans a sting to capture members of the set, aiming to disrupt their shipment to Bilming. Elendel delivers alarming news from Harmony about the potential of mixing harmonium and trellium, which could cause devastating explosions. Wax decides to research this further, while Marasi moves ahead with her investigation. Wayne offers to assist Elendel with interrogation work, and the group prepares for the mission ahead. In Chapter 19, Wax prepares for Marasi's sting operation, confident in her plans, but distracted by his own health and his lingering past. As he spends time with Steris, he worries about his sister Telsin's growing danger. Harmony warns him about the threat posed by Trell, a god of autonomy, and the set's potential for catastrophic plans. Wax dons his mistcoat and sets off for Bilming, where he believes the set's explosive tests are underway. Meanwhile, Steris prepares to handle matters with the Senate, stepping into a leadership role. Wax is determined to stop Telsin, protect his loved ones, and uncover the truth behind the set's schemes. Part 2. In Chapter 20, Marasi, traveling toward Bilming, reflects on the city's rapid growth and its emerging independence from Elendel. Her convoy, led by a mysterious woman named Moonlight, approaches the city's industrial district. Marasi learns that Moonlight is not only involved with the constabulary, but also connected to a larger network. As they talk, Moonlight reveals insights about Trell Autonomy, discussing her influence and plans for Scadrial, and hints at Marasi's importance in the unfolding events. Upon reaching the warehouse for the sting, Moonlight assures Marasi of her non-interference, but remains cryptic about her true role. In Chapter 21, Wayne and Hoyd make their way to a warehouse for the sting operation. Wayne disguises himself as Frannis, while Elendel assumes a different identity. The group prepares for a confrontation with a local gang, expecting the sting to unfold smoothly with their surprise advantage. However, tensions rise when Wayne engages in conversation with a thug named Embrier, revealing some suspicions about their operation. As the gang begins to unload, a surprising twist occurs. Local constables, identified by the symbol of Bilming, flood the warehouse, revealing that Marasi's sting has been compromised. In Chapter 22, Marasi and her team arrive in Bilming for their sting operation, but local constables, led by Captain Blantatch, confront them. Blantatch is initially hostile, but Marasi explains the deeper, dangerous conspiracy involving the set, which affects both cities. After a tense exchange, they agree to cooperate. Marasi becomes concerned when she realizes the sequence, a key target, seems prepared for the sting, using an allomantic push with great strength. Marasi urgently instructs Blantatch to sedate him, suspecting the sequence may be a metalborn, potentially threatening the operation and complicating their mission. In Chapter 23, Marasi and her team face chaos when the sequence uses a powerful steel push, causing destruction and throwing the warehouse into disarray. The sequence's use of duralumin amplifies his allomantic abilities, making him a dangerous adversary. Marasi quickly formulates a plan to organize a retreat, using explosives as a distraction. As the battle intensifies, a slider confronts Wayne, and Elendel draws attention with his antics. Just as their cover is destroyed, and the gangsters prepare for an assault with a machine gun, Waxillium arrives, taking down the gunner and turning the tide in their favor, ready to continue the fight. In Chapter 24, Wayne battles a slider with his dueling cane, using his speed bubble to counter her movements. Despite her ability to heal, Wayne continues to fight back, trying to outlast her. The sequence causes chaos with steel pushes, and Marasi organizes a retreat, coordinating with Captain Blantatch. Wax arrives and disrupts the battle, handling a machine gun threat and engaging the sequence in the air. The gangsters, realizing the situation is lost, begin to scatter. Marasi and Wayne hold their ground, using their powers to protect the wounded, while Wax chases the escaping coinshot out into the sky. In Chapter 25, Wax chases a skilled coinshot using duralumin and bronze spikes across the city. The coinshot, augmented by hemalurgy, makes impossible pushes, forcing Wax to adapt. Wax manages to dodge bullets, climb buildings, and confront the enemy, who attempts to drain Wax's powers with a leecher spike. Despite the danger, Wax retrieves a vial of metal, replenishing his abilities just in time to survive a fall. As the coinshot retreats, Wax crashes into a city square, drawing attention. Hoyd arrives in a car to offer help, but Wax refuses, determined to return to assist Marasi and Wayne. In Chapter 26, Marasi, Wax, Wayne, and Elendel regroup at the Bilming Constabulary headquarters after the failed sting. Marasi reflects on the casualties, including 2 dead constables, feeling the weight of the loss. Wax discusses the importance of continuing their work despite setbacks, highlighting the enemy's growing power. They deduce that the kidnappings were part of a larger plot involving hemalurgic spikes. Elendel suggests Harmony has been hiding his disability, and Marasi expresses frustration with their lack of clear answers. The chapter ends with Captain Blantatch entering, accompanied by an unknown man hinting at new developments. In Chapter 27, Wax and his team face political tension with Lord Gava Entrone, the mayor of Bilming, who attempts to manipulate Wax into admitting guilt for the failed operation. Entrone asserts local control over the city, but Wax refuses to back down. Elendel reveals his allegiance to Harmony, but Entrone dismisses him. Wax struggles with his emotions, particularly after hearing his sister Telsin's voice through a Trellium earring, confirming her involvement in a dangerous plan. Wax learns she is on a tight deadline, likely involving a catastrophic device. The chapter ends with a foreboding presence outside, the arrival of death. In Chapter 28, Wax and his team meet Irenaeus, also known as Marsh, who appears as a spectral figure wearing black robes. Marsh explains his weakening condition due to a lack of adium and reveals that Trell, an external god, is attempting to take control of Scadrial by creating a dangerous weapon. Marsh shares a lead about Tobal Copper, a man who had been researching splitting harmonium, and suggests that Harmony is growing indecisive. Marsh also warns them of Trell's influence over Bilming's political and military movements. The chapter ends with Wax and Marasi preparing to follow this new lead. In Chapter 29, Marasi and the group are warned by Captain Blantatch that Lord Entrone will send constables after them. Blantatch offers to help by sending Moonlight, Kim, a researcher who knows the city, to assist them. The team heads to the Bilming City records, where they learn that Tobal Copper, a chemist, filed a lawsuit claiming knowledge of a coming catastrophe involving splitting harmonium. His arrest record indicates he feared a world-ending event. The researchers provide an address linked to Copper, and Wax suspects he was either killed or captured for work on the enemy's projects. In Chapter 30, the group investigates Tobal Copper's apartment, finding signs of a rush search by the set. They discover traps, blood, and hints that Copper was involved in researching weapons and explosives, possibly for the Bilming government. Wayne deduces that Copper wanted to expose the truth, despite the set's efforts to silence him. The group uncovers a clue. Numbers on an envelope linked to the Sentinel of Truth, a disreputable broadsheet. Kim helps them locate the office, connecting it to Copper's final efforts to share vital information. Wayne reflects on the significance of the man's life and work. In Chapter 31, Steris steps into a chaotic Senate session to take Wax's place. She faces resistance, especially from the governor, who is dismissive of her warnings about a bomb threat in Bilming. Despite her meticulous planning, Steris struggles to gain the governor's trust. She proposes a select council to address the crisis, but the governor and senators dismiss her, opting to include only certain members in the council. When a Malwish ambassador bribes the governor to join, Steris realizes she must act quickly. Determined, she pushes her way into the council, planning her next move. In Chapter 32, Wax, Marasi, Wayne, and Kim visit the Sentinel of Truth offices, a rundown building where Tobal Copper may have left clues. They find the office locked, but wait for the owner, Maraga Dulcet, to arrive. She reveals she knows about Tobal's suspicions and his warnings regarding a bomb. Maraga, a journalist, hints at knowledge of a secret group and leads them to her basement, where she shows metal sheets covered with information about the conspiracy. The group learns more about the potential danger while trying to uncover the truth behind Tobal's death and the looming threat. In Chapter 33, Wax, Marasi, and Wayne discover crucial information in Maraga Dulcet's basement, where she has documented Tobal Copper's findings on a dangerous weapon being developed. The group learns about a self-propelled rocket designed to detonate a bomb in Elendel, but it's facing technical difficulties. Tobal had uncovered details of a cataclysmic plan, but was killed before he could reveal more. Maraga shows them an Ivanotype photo depicting a ruined city, hinting at the potential destruction. Just as the team processes this, Wax's sister, Telsin, the leader of the set, arrives, signaling escalating danger. In Chapter 34, Telsin confronts Wax, Marasi, and the others, offering a cryptic warning that they have 2 days to solve the crisis. Wax and Marasi realize she is trying to manipulate them. They plan to split up. Wax and Wayne will interrogate Telsin, while Marasi, with Kim's help, will search for the bomb's location. Telsin, now a powerful avatar of the god Autonomy, is unfazed by Wax's threat, revealing her confidence. Wax and Marasi discuss their next steps, preparing for the dangerous paths ahead. Marasi also plans to interrogate Moonlight, keeping her own secrets as she seeks more information. Part 3. In Chapter 35, Wax confronts his sister Telsin, who reveals her allegiance to Autonomy, believing the god's plan requires the destruction of Elendel for the basin's future. Telsin urges Wax to leave the city and let her carry out her plan, claiming it's the only way to prove the basin's worth. Wax challenges her, pointing out the consequences of destroying the city and questioning Autonomy's true intentions. Despite their arguments, Telsin is determined, seeing herself as a chosen leader. Wax, realizing she's stalling for time, sneaks away to continue his efforts to stop the bomb, planning to interrogate Gaviantron next. In Chapter 36, Marasi and Moonlight help Maraga, the editor, find a safe house in the Nightbridge district, avoiding the set's reach. Marasi, worried about Elendel's impending disaster, leads Moonlight to the safe house, where they discuss the complex situation and the uncertainty surrounding Autonomy's involvement. Marasi insists on getting the information she needs to prevent the bomb, while Moonlight expresses concerns about being misled by Autonomy. Moonlight agrees to let Marasi into the safe house, but remains cautious about sharing all the details. They hope to use coordinates from previous explosions to find a way into the set's underground testing facility. In Chapter 37, Wax and Wayne evade Telsin, who seems to be stalling them. Wax suspects she's worried they can stop her plans, but he gets a lead on the Lord Mayor and Trone from her. They blend into the busy streets of Bilming, discussing their next move. Wax wants to interrogate Entrone, but worries about the attention it would draw. Wayne suggests breaking into Entrone's mansion discreetly, claiming it would be a courteous looting. Wax agrees to the plan, assigning Wayne the task of creating a distraction while he handles the ransacking. They prepare for the next step in their investigation. In Chapter 38, Steris joins a tense council meeting with the governor and other key officials to discuss the escalating situation in Bilming. The governor and his allies are leaning toward war, but Steris argues that this plays into the set's hands, potentially triggering a catastrophic weapon. She reveals that the set is plotting Elendel's destruction and unexpectedly exposes a Khandra constable Gorglin as Tensoon, an agent working for Harmony. Tension rises as Steris receives a letter confirming that the bomb is real and ready, urging immediate evacuation. The council faces the grim reality of the imminent threat. In Chapter 39, Marasi arrives at a safe house where she meets Codenames and the elderly Twin Soul, a traveler with remarkable crystal abilities. Moonlight reveals the urgency of their mission to stop the set's plan. They examine maps and data, identifying 3 potential entry points to underground caverns tied to the set's activities. The most likely target is the Dului building, a hub for set activity. Marasi deduces that the nearby tire factory is stockpiling supplies for the caverns. They prepare to strike there, as a bomb capable of destroying Elendel is imminent. The chapter ends with plans to consult Kelsier. In Chapter 40, Marasi meets Kelsier's manifestation, a glowing sphere that transforms into a head resembling the survivor. Kelsier provides guidance, acknowledging the urgency of the set's bomb plot. They discuss strategies, including utilizing Codenames and Twin Soul, who has the task of assisting Marasi. Moonlight equips Marasi with weapons and reveals the group's access to purified door, a powerful resource. The team prepares to act, with Marasi in charge of the mission. Twin Soul, despite his frailty, insists on accompanying them. They head to the train station, aiming to stop the set's plan by infiltrating the tire factory. In Chapter 41, Wax infiltrates the Lord Mayor's mansion, Silver House, looking for clues about the bomb targeting Elendel. He finds a messy room, papers, and letters, including one from Venice Hastings, suggesting collaboration, but not revealing much. Wax discovers the mayor's calendar, showing tight scheduling with a lab and tests, but the last entry reads, ominously, "They arrive." He uses his allomantic abilities to locate a hidden safe, but is stymied by an advanced lock meant for a Mistborn. Wax then finds a trapdoor leading to a narrow shaft. As smoke and alarms signal danger, he descends, hoping for answers. In Chapter 42, Marasi, Moonlight, and Twin Soul ride a high-speed elevated train through Bilming, heading toward their target. During the journey, Marasi questions Moonlight and Twin Soul about their abilities. Moonlight can use soul stamps to create temporary doors and repair objects, while Twin Soul can craft simple rosite objects that must remain in contact with him. Marasi learns that their plan is to find a quieter point of entry into the factory and locate the elevator that leads to the set's caverns. Upon arriving, they find the factory unexpectedly busy with supply trucks. Realizing the set's forces are likely distracted by Wax's antics, Marasi decides to act quickly while their enemy's attention is elsewhere. In Chapter 43, Steris presents Wax's letter confirming the bomb's existence and urging Elendel's evacuation. The governor and his staff begin planning escape routes, but Adawathwin suggests using allomancers to intercept the bomb. Steris argues that it's too fast for them to stop, prompting Adawathwin to propose using the Bands of Mourning to enhance an allomancer's abilities. Despite the controversial nature of using the bands, Telsin agrees to retrieve them. Meanwhile, Steris prepares for the evacuation, reflecting on her methodical approach to the crisis and the overwhelming urgency of the situation. In Chapter 44, Marasi, Moonlight, and Twin Soul navigate through Bilming's Undercity, heading toward a tire factory suspected to be the set's base. They spot Mayor and Trone arriving in a hurry, further confirming their target. Moonlight uses her unique abilities to create a hidden door in the factory's rear wall, and they sneak into a storage room. Exploring further, they stumble into a pitch-black chamber filled with chairs in rows. Marasi finds light switches, but instead of illuminating the room, they activate a projected image of a crumbling, ashen city that begins to move. In Chapter 45, Marasi, Moonlight, and Twin Soul discover a fake projection of a destroyed Elendel, created by the set to make it appear as if the world has already ended. They find a model of the ruined city and deduce that the images are part of a hoax. Moving deeper into the factory, they locate an industrial elevator shaft leading down, likely to the caverns. After some difficulty, they use Moonlight's ability to create doors and descend into the shaft. As they descend, they prepare for what lies below, hoping to find answers about the set's plans. In Chapter 46, Wax discovers a hidden passage in the mayor's mansion, leading to a storm drain. After finding an emergency bunker and a cart, he recalls his past and resolves to meet up with Wayne. They rendezvous at a bar and discuss their findings, including a forged letter and the possibility of Telsin using the bombing to gain power. As they navigate the storm drain, Wax and Wayne discuss their mission, only for Wax to realize they're being followed by the set. They are ambushed by the coin shot and a woman with a bowler hat, signaling imminent danger. In Chapter 47, Marasi and her team descend into the caverns beneath the mayor's mansion using Twin Soul's rosite ladder. They sneak past guards using a time-altering grenade and find themselves in a dimly lit tunnel. They observe Lord Mayor Gave discussing the bomb's failure and a potential invasion by Autonomy's army. The team uncovers a dark process of creating spikes from ordinary people, hinting at the ability to forge Metalborn. Despite Moonlight's and Twin Soul's reluctance, Marasi insists on rescuing prisoners who are about to be executed, deciding the risk is worth it to potentially gain valuable information. In Chapter 48, Steris watches for signs of danger as Lady Gardra, likely a member of the set, leaves the room signaling imminent danger. Telsin returns with the Bands of Mourning, but they are mysteriously drained of power. Ambassador Dahl uses this opportunity to demand they be returned to the Malwish, using the drained bands as leverage. Steris realizes this was a ploy and tries to convince the governor to act, offering her evacuation plans to save the city. Despite his hesitation, the governor agrees to proceed with her plan to protect Elendel. In Chapter 49, Wax and Wayne confront two doppelgangers from the set who are enhanced to match their abilities. Despite the tight confines of the tunnel, they use their skills to fight back. Wayne uses his speed bubble to maneuver around the enemy, while Wax tricks their opponents, eventually shooting and severely wounding them. Despite their injuries, the doppelgangers escape. Wayne, exhausted, reflects on the toll the battle has taken, joking about aging. The two continue down the tunnel, realizing the urgency to stop the set's plans, knowing the hardest part is still ahead. In Chapter 50, Marasi's team infiltrates the enemy lab, using a slowness bubble to freeze guards. Marasi uses a grenade to immobilize the scientists and guards, but one scientist manages to start a fire, which Marasi prevents by killing her. Tension rises as the team realizes the stakes of their mission, creating Allomancer spikes. The group helps the prisoners, including a political leader who warns them about a potential invasion army. They prepare to evacuate, but a large group of soldiers appears, escalating their mission from stealth to full-scale conflict. Marasi must now protect the prisoners and continue the mission. In Chapter 51, Marasi's team is under fire from set soldiers. Twin Soul creates a massive stone construct using rosite to shield them, allowing the freed civilians to escape. Marasi and Moonlight use the distraction to continue deeper into the tunnels, seeking the community and avoiding enemy reinforcements. Marasi realizes Twin Soul's creation makes him nearly invincible as it allows him to grow and shrink his form for combat. They are heading toward a possible perpendicularity, with Moonlight agreeing to continue despite her initial hesitation. As they move forward, they hear something following them, increasing their urgency. In Chapter 52, Wax and Wayne track a convoy of trucks, one of which turns out to be a decoy. Wax pursues the remaining truck using his allomantic abilities, leaping through the city with precision. Despite heavy gunfire, he disables the truck by pushing it into a wall, only to find it contains documents, not the bomb. Realizing the fourth truck is crucial, Wax follows it through side streets and eventually intercepts it, finding it full of ledgers and supplies. Wax then returns to the tunnels, disabling the truck and its occupants while keeping his focus on stopping the threat. In Chapter 53, Marasi and Moonlight are pursued by a hemalurgic monstrosity created by the set. As they evade it, they infiltrate a facility, discovering it is a bunker preparing for an invasion. Marasi realizes Entrone has planned for an attack, and the community is a hoax. They encounter a strange artificial town within the bunker, but the chase intensifies as the creature follows their scent. Moonlight reveals her ability to transform into someone else permanently using a special stamp. They devise a plan for Marasi to escape through a door Moonlight creates, while Moonlight prepares for a dangerous transformation. In Chapter 54, Moonlight uses pure investiture to transform herself into a glowing, divine being, then creates a duplicate of Marasi to aid her escape. Marasi needs to evade soldiers and asks Moonlight for help, who casts a complex spell to distract the soldiers by vanishing and leaving her duplicate behind. As the soldiers close in, Marasi hands Moonlight the important documents and steps through the door, leaving her rifle behind. She enters a peaceful neighborhood, relying on the plan Moonlight set in motion. Meanwhile, Moonlight prepares to deal with the soldiers as they breach the room. In Chapter 55, Wax finds a bloody woman in the back of a truck who reveals herself as a hemalurgic creation of Autonomy. She warns him about the bomb and the destructive forces that will follow if it fails. Wax digs through papers, discovering details about self-propelled rockets tested on the ocean, linked to Gave's vacation. Realizing the urgency, Wax gathers the information, apologizes for the damage caused, and moves on. He finds Wayne at the lab, where they share a brief respite with some logshine, knowing they need rest before continuing their investigation. In Chapter 56, Marasi walks through a strange underground town, pretending to belong, until she's noticed and brought inside a home by a woman named Fialia. There, she learns, the residents have been tricked into believing the world above has been destroyed. They've been living underground for 7 years, unaware of the truth. Marasi uncovers that the set has been keeping these people ignorant, using actors to reinforce the lie. She also learns that some of them are allomancers, with powers like rioting and soothing. One woman, Armel Harms, is revealed to be Marasi's distant cousin, kidnapped years ago. In Chapter 57, Marasi discovers the truth behind the underground community, realizing it's a long-term experiment to create allomantic children. The set's aim was to control and manipulate them, with plans for eugenics and the use of spikes. Marasi identifies one of the women, Armel Harms, as her cousin, who had been kidnapped years ago. Marasi tries to convince Armel and the others to help overthrow the tyrannical lord Entrone. With no time to spare, Marasi prepares to confront Entrone alone, but tensions rise as she discovers a hidden weapon in her rucksack, signaling more danger ahead. In Chapter 58, Wax and Wayne prepare for their confrontation with the set, reflecting on past memories. Wayne opens up about his guilt over past actions, and Wax reassures him that he is a good man despite his struggles. They uncover more details about the set's plans and discuss their next move. Wax realizes where the bomb is likely located and plans to stop it, while Wayne, despite his reservations, agrees to help. They gear up for the challenge ahead, with Wax confident in their mission and Wayne grappling with his inner turmoil. Together, they prepare to face Entrone and the looming threat. In Chapter 59, Marasi infiltrates Entrone's mansion, bypassing security with the help of Armel and her group. She confronts Entrone, who reveals his fears of Autonomy's army and his reasoning behind the impending invasion. Marasi attempts to stop him, but Entrone overpowers her with his enhanced abilities. As he prepares to kill her, she draws on the strength of the people she serves, unleashing a rioting power that overwhelms Entrone. The chapter ends with Marasi's power impacting Entrone, signaling that her strength lies not in herself, but in her connection to the people she is sworn to protect. In Chapter 60, Marasi uses her rioting abilities to empower the people of Wayfarer, causing Entrone to collapse in fear. Despite her overwhelming feelings of shame, she pushes through and focuses on the real threat, the portal opening to an invading army. She discovers a large pool of raw power that fuels the portal, realizing its destructive potential. Marasi gathers the Allomancers in the cavern, preparing to burn the power with their abilities to stop the invasion. Meanwhile, Entrone, incapacitated and restrained, is left behind as Marasi focuses on preventing the army's arrival. In Chapter 61, Wax and Wayne make their way to the Shaw Tower to stop the set's plans. They carefully infiltrate the building, using Wayne's distraction as Scary Tree and Wax's allomancy to neutralize soldiers. Wax and Wayne prepare for the final confrontation, with Wax using his weapons and abilities to gain access to the upper levels. Wax's earring connects him to Telsin, his sister, who taunts him from above, claiming he lacks vision. Wax resolves to confront her, declaring his purpose to clean up the family's mess. He prepares for battle, determined to stop her at all costs. In Chapter 62, Wax and Wayne continue their assault on the Shaw Tower. Wax uses a combination of gunfire, allomancy, and grenades to clear their way through soldiers. He encounters heavy resistance but powers through, leveraging the environment and his abilities to create a path upward. Wax reflects on his duty and the cost of his violent actions, feeling the weight of his transformation. Upon reaching the top floor, they face a final group of unarmed building security. Wayne suggests they might not be as hostile, but Wax insists they must push forward as Telsin could launch the bomb at any moment. In Chapter 63, Wax and Wayne face off against a group of security officers guarding a grand staircase. Wayne distracts the soldiers by appealing to their humanity, offering them an escape route if they surrender. His words result in the soldiers fleeing, leaving only two high-ranking enemies, a man with a leecher ability and a woman with a bowler hat. Wax and Wayne prepare to fight them, with Wax cautioning Wayne about the leecher's ability to negate allomancy. They decide to confront the two separately, ready for the next confrontation in their mission to stop the impending threat. In Chapter 64, Marasi and the Allomancers from the community work together to drain the power from a glowing pool linked to a portal. As they channel the energy, Marasi realizes the enemy forces are trying to come through the portal. She commands the portal to freeze, halting their progress. With the power exhausted, the room returns to normal, leaving Marasi and the others drained but successful. They hope that the rest of the team, including Wax and Wayne, are having a smoother time. Marasi, exhausted from the effort, wonders about the next steps in their mission. In Chapter 65, Wax and Wayne fight their respective doppelgangers. Wayne grapples with a coin shot who uses leecher abilities, while Wax duels with a woman in a bowler hat, using a combination of gunfire and clever tactics to keep her at bay. Both doppelgangers are fixated on imitating Wax and Wayne for survival under the influence of Trell and autonomy. After a fierce battle, Wax and Wayne overpower their opponents. Wayne makes a dramatic fall with the coin shot but survives, and they focus on stopping the bomb. Wax retrieves a symbolic earring signaling the final step of their mission. In Chapter 66, Wax confronts his sister Telsin on a rooftop, discovering that the rocket was a decoy and that the real bomb is on a warship heading toward Elendel. Telsin, heavily invested by autonomy, taunts Wax, claiming he cannot stop the ship as any attempt to strike it will trigger the bomb. As Wax struggles with the realization that he can't reach the ship in time, he calls upon Harmony, who interrupts Telsin's power, causing her to collapse. Wax, with Wayne's help, faces a new challenge, stopping the bomb and saving Elendel before it's too late. In Chapter 67, Steris manages the evacuation of Elendel while dealing with the imminent threat of a warship launched from Bilming, which is carrying a bomb towards the city. Despite the uncertainty, she confidently asserts that her husband, Wax, will stop the ship. Governor Varlance expresses doubt, but Steris insists organizing a strategy to evacuate the region near the bay in case of disaster. As the ship approaches, Steris remains resolute, knowing that Wax will find a way to prevent the bomb's detonation, even if it means detonating it early. She rallies Varlance to stay and help, urging him to be a hero. In Chapter 68, Marasi and Armel, along with the other former captives, uncover a hidden observation room revealing a false projection of a destroyed city meant to deceive them. The truth about the set's manipulation hits hard, especially for Armel, who regrets not appreciating her time in freedom. Marasi reflects on how much she has accomplished, but questions whether it was truly fulfilling. They discover the building is located in a warehouse district with a clear view of the city. As they watch, an explosion causes the lights on the Shaw to go out, signaling something significant is unfolding. In Chapter 69, Weled, a sailor on the Pewterknot A-16, begins to realize the danger of his mission as he patrols the deck under eerie, misty conditions. After a tense encounter with Gabria, he witnesses the arrival of Dawnshot, who has been fatally wounded with a spike. Meanwhile, Telsin, recovering from her own setback, realizes that her plan to destroy Elendel might be failing as Wax disrupts her rocket scheme. Wax and Wayne board the warship, discovering a deadly bomb rigged with complex deadman switches. They must navigate the bomb's volatile nature and find a way to safely remove it from the ship. In Chapter 70, Steris takes charge at the city docks, organizing evacuation efforts and preparing for potential flooding. She uses her detailed disaster plans to direct dock workers, constables, and newly recruited volunteers. As she coordinates the placement of barriers, evacuation routes, and even ropes for human chains, she unexpectedly gains respect and appreciation from those around her. A group of Allomancers appears, offering to assist with her plan to scuttle cargo ships in the bay to mitigate a potential tsunami. By the end of the chapter, Steris can only wait and hope that Wax succeeds in stopping the bomb. In Chapter 71, Wayne and Wax face the challenge of defusing a bomb on a ship. The ship's self-propelled course is set to detonate once it hits land, and Wax realizes that it's connected to the bomb system. Wayne suggests using a speed bubble to delay the detonation, and Harmony provides a solution using Ladrian, which Wayne burns to become a Mistborn. Wayne applies his new abilities to slow time, pour water into the bomb's barrels, and push them out of the bubble. He successfully prevents a catastrophic explosion, but the blast still occurs, engulfing him in red light and fire. In Chapter 72, Wax struggles in the dark waters after the explosion, battling pain, exhaustion, and grief. He recalls Wayne's sacrifice and thanks him silently. As Wax fights to stay afloat, he is near collapse, his coat dragging him down. Suddenly, a small boat with a lantern appears, and Hoyd, in a coachman's outfit, extends a hand to him. Hoyd offers Wax a carriage, suggesting an unexpected rescue. Wax, drained and on the brink of losing consciousness, finds a glimmer of hope in the mysterious figure's arrival. In Chapter 73, Steris and the governor are carried away from the docks to the city center after the explosion. The shockwave from the detonation reaches them, but they are far enough to avoid serious harm. Steris watches the explosion's light fade, confirming that Wax had detonated the bomb early. While relieved that the city is saved, she worries about Wax's safety. The governor praises their efforts in evacuating the city, but Steris is still anxious about the tsunami. As water pulls back from the docks, she hopes the damage will be manageable and prays for Wax's safety. In Chapter 74, Wayne finds himself floating in a vast, otherworldly space after his death. He converses with Harmony, who reveals that Wayne's actions saved the world. Harmony hints that Autonomy's influence has been temporarily halted, but there are future threats. Wayne humorously asks if his explosion was the largest ever, and Harmony confirms it was, making Wayne's death feel significant. As Wayne prepares to move on to the beyond, he jokes with Harmony, leaving behind his signature humor. He stretches into the stars, his final moments marked by peace and satisfaction, knowing he played a crucial role in saving the world. Epilogues. Marasi returns to Elendel after the explosion, processing the shock of Wayne's death, though she holds onto the hope of his survival. She reunites with Alec, who tells her Wayne detonated the bomb to save the city. Struggling with grief, Marasi contemplates her next steps. She receives an invitation from the Ghostbloods and meets Kelsier, who offers her membership, promising access to powerful knowledge. Marasi rejects their offer, choosing to stay true to her values and the law. As she leaves, she realizes her future lies in her own hands, with a clear plan to move forward. Alriandra. 2 days after the detonation, Steris brought Wax home from the hospital. Haunted by Wayne's sacrifice, Wax grappled with guilt for not saying goodbye, but Steris reminded him that Wayne had made his own choice. They found comfort in each other, promising to honor Wayne by living fully and finding happiness. At home, Wax reunited with their children, while Steris received a letter offering her a city council position as disaster preparations officer. Encouraged by Wax, she embraced the opportunity and began to envision a better future, determined to honor their late friend's legacy by moving forward and cherishing their family's happiness. Kelsier. 5 days after the detonation, Alriandra, exhausted from work, returns home to find her daughter Ruri in trouble for drawing with toothpaste. The landlord demands rent, but Alriandra remains hopeful about Wayne's pending payment. 2 men arrive with news. Wayne is dead, having detonated the bomb. Despite mixed emotions about his death, anger, relief, and sadness, she's informed that she's the primary beneficiary of his estate. The estate, worth over 100 million boxings, is hers. Shocked and overwhelmed, Alriandra realizes the immense change in her circumstances and the opportunities now open to her. She holds the final note from Wayne. Sorry, Renette. 6 months after the detonation, Renette and Jaxie return to Elendel from a less-than-thrilling honeymoon in Malwish. Renette is annoyed by the lack of excitement, but enjoys her time away from deadlines. Upon arriving home, they find that Jaxie has arranged a renovation to their shop, funded by a gift from Wayne. The men who delivered it explained it was Wayne's idea, suggesting a renovation to help Renette. After reading Wayne's humorous and heartfelt note in crayon, Renette reflects on how much she misses Wayne, appreciating the gift and the memories of their time together. Melan. 19 months after the detonation, Melan, traveling across the dark ocean of Shadesmar, receives a message from Harmony. It reveals that Wayne stopped the attack on the city, sacrificing his life in the process. Though she had anticipated this, the news still shakes her. Melan, feeling conflicted about her emotions, reflects on how Wayne made her forget what she was. As her boat nears land, where people in strange outfits await, Melan steels herself for her duty. Despite her grief, she prepares to save these people, remembering her ability to regenerate her heart and rebuild herself. Waxillium. 2 years after the detonation, Wax and Steris stand before Wayne's statue, which includes a removable hat. They reflect on Wayne's legacy, with the statue having 2 plaques, one quoting Wayne's advice about helping people, and another with a humorous line he requested. Marasi joins them, wearing Wayne's lucky hat and bringing a taxidermied frog left by Wayne's estate, continuing his playful legacy. As Marasi prepares for her ambassador trip, Wax learns she plans to run for governor, aiming to make real changes. The group is then visited by Death, who confirms Wayne's passing and gives Wax a note from Harmony, assuring him that his life is his own.